So thank you for having me today. It's been a wonderful congress so far, and I'll try to be as brief as possible. So I will tell you what we did and give you a brief analysis, and then maybe Anne, we can dig a little bit deeper in the forum discussion. Okay, so I'm director of Museum de Lakenhal in Leiden. Let me check. This is it. I guess lots of you have been there someday in the past. It's in a beautiful cloth hall at the center of Leiden, a 17th century building. And of course, also the city of Leiden is a really splendid historical city, and I'm very happy to be there. I've been there since 2009, as Anne already indicated, and when I came there, the first thing they did was hand me over a huge report indicating or summarizing all the problems the museum was facing at the moment, among which was the collection. So we didn't actually know how many objects there were in the collection at the time. Many of those were not properly registered. Digital photographs were lacking, etc., etc. And also we were experiencing problems with regard to the budgets. The organizational structure needed to be reviewed, and of course the building had been expanded for the last time in 1921, and the municipality for decades had been disputing the question of whether or not to restore the old 17th century building. So there we were, and well, I thought instead of moving on, I really had the feeling that first year in Leiden that we should look back in order to define the unique character of the museum, its history, and the collection, before we could even start to envision a future. So what we did is we stopped collecting for 1 year. We froze all the budgets for collection. We cancelled all the exhibitions. I had a talk with all the curators, asked them how dedicated they were on the projects they were working on, and they agreed in cancelling them in order to put the collection first. So for 1 whole year, with all the staff, all the management, all the people working in the museum, we were doing this project called Work in Progress. It was for everyone, and we did everything solely around the collection. So I had this image in my mind, you know, the movie of Charlie Chaplin, Modern Times, from the 20s. So trying to visualize what kind of logistic process we would have to endure, I saw this assembly line, and we actually built it in the exhibition space of the museum. And along these assembly lines were 4 working stations where all the objects that we took out of the storage every day, shelf by shelf, were being cleaned, they were being researched, registered. Of course, they were being photographed, and then in the end, we put everything on the website of the museum. So here you can see how day by day, and for me it was, of course, it was a wonderful gift for me as a new director to pass along this assembly day line day by day, week by week, month by month, and thus realizing how enormously broad this collection was, and also realizing what we actually missed, what we forgot about. And that was not only for me, but actually for everyone who was involved in the process. It was also a very public process, so you see Cora on the right working on a collection, and on the left the man having a gaze at what's passing by. And also we had a lot of groups coming in, among which school groups. Here they were in the studio where the works were photographed, to explain them why the museum exists, what we do, how to handle all the objects. And well, during the whole period, we had loads of questions and discussions. But let me see first, in this process, on this assembly line, many very special objects came along. And the most beautiful, the most strange, the most interesting ones we immediately put on display. So we designed this very flexible system of displaying and giving information to the public, and everything was coded in blue. So everything in the museum that was blue was a part of the Work in Progress project. So here we did an installation, like a storage room of the collection of modern contemporary art, to see what we got there. And as I said, we had so many discussions, interesting discussions during the whole year. every week, one morning, Monday morning, we would sit together with the curatorial team and talk about what had happened in the last week and what it meant for us, to us as a museum. But we also talked, of course, with the management team about how to move further. We invited guests from outside to talk with us about the collection, about the museum. And we also invited contemporary artists like Jan Rothuizen, who went along with us in this process for a while, and then came up with 6 works of art in which he, in a very personal, poetical way, summarized the meaning of the museum, which is in this case, I guess you'll speak Dutch, but for always then. So, loads of questions, loads of objects. What, when, why, what for whom. We started researching the history of the museum. We started being more and more aware about the collection of the museum. We started to formulate the DNA of the museum. What are the basic values of Museum de Lakenhal, and how can we identify those by researching the collection? But also at a more abstract level, we were wondering, why do people collect? Why do we do that? So, for example, we would invite a biologist to tell about the human urge, the human need to collect stuff, to collect things. And we also discussed with the public and with each other, why are museums important? Why are we here? So it was both a practical project as well as a more abstract reflection on the meaning of museums in general and the meaning of Museum de Lakenhal in particular. It was also a very interactive process. So we had loads of questions also for the public. And one of those was, why do people collect? So we invited people to come to the museum, take their favorite object, and we would portray them. And in the course of the year, we made hundreds, maybe even thousands portraits of people with their favorite objects. It was actually a very nice way to make it concrete, and it also helped us to design the public campaign. Educational project. We got a lot of feedback from the public, and we used this to, in the course of 1 year, at the end of the year, we formulated the mission of the museum. So far, the museum did not have a mission, and it was this one, and it's still applicable today. Museum de Lakenhal makes visual arts and Leiden's history accessible for as many people as possible, to inspire them and to contribute to their personal development. So it's all about Leiden, about the city of Leiden, and it's all about people, because art history is about comparing objects, but museums are about the question what objects mean to people. And we do that, of course, by collecting, we do it by exhibitions, we do it by undertaking adventurous interdisciplinary projects, and also by opening up the dialogue about this subject with the public. So we summarize this mission in 3 words, to inspire, to connect, and to renew, in which we are positioning Museum de Lakenhal as a museum of collections, rather than a museum of exhibitions. So we put lots more focus, more money, more effort into the collection. For example, after that year, we appointed the first curator of applied art, which is here today. It's Femke, there you are. Because we realized that we had much more applied arts than we ever thought of. For example, we wrote a collection plan, a strategy for the collection. We didn't have such a plan so far. We also decided that all exhibitions in the Lakenhal should be linked to the collection. We designed a completely new corporate identity based on the collection. And of course, we also made a new website on which all the works in the collection were published. And we redefined the public program. So finally, the last step of the whole process of change, in which we took the collection as the generator of change, ends up in the restoration and expansion of the museum building, which has started last January. Here you can see it just, I think, 2 months ago when we started the whole process. And in 2019, in spring, we will reopen the Museum de Lakenhal, and it will be dedicated to the collection. Of course, we will also have a new wing for temporary exhibitions, but the most important message will stay collection first to do the Trump thing, you know? Collection first. So the collection became the generator of change in Museum de Lakenhal, and it was really the best choice we could have ever made, because by identifying the collection in a deep way, as the only stable source of inspiration and as a keystone of everything we do, we are guided by, the best thing possible. So thank you so far. I hope to see you at the opening in 2019.